soon as the live stream gets started, of course, I'm going to have to cut it off though, or else YouTube will kick us off.
Yeah.
But enjoy it
Don't
while.
worry, San Juanita can sing.
All right. Ahí estamos en el universo del YouTube. Get the music off. All right. Bienvenidos a todos. It's a pleasure having you all here tonight. Aquí estamos de nuevo. This is the spring semester of Conchas y Café, the bilingual creative writing workshop series. Y para ustedes que son nuevos, we will be code switching back and forth. If you feel more comfortable speaking in Spanish or reading your work in Spanish, you're obviously welcome to use whichever language works best for you. Para el propósito de hoy, como es una orientación, vamos a estar presentando un poco de información sobre el programa. And what that means is that every other page or every other slide that you will see on the screen will be in either English or in Spanish. No somos muchos, but I guess just to get a sense of your preference, does anyone have a specific preference? ¿Hay alguna preferencia sobre el idioma que usemos esta noche? Anyone here prefer us to use either English predominantly or Spanish predominantly? Si no hay preferencia, no hay problema. All right. I like both as well. Both. Okay. All right. Entonces vamos a seguir. We'll probably just code switch as we usually do. And as I had mentioned already, for those who are joining us live on Zoom, you have access to this packet that we will be reviewing. Para los que están en el universo de YouTube or on our Instagram live, you can, of course, go to our website, distillarts.org/conchasicafezine, where you will be able to gain access to not only the handouts, but also the future recordings of the upcoming series lessons. And como dije, si hay alguna pregunta, if at any point you want me to stop and clarify, I am keeping track of our comments on both YouTube as well as on Instagram Live. So you can drop a comment in any one of those if you have a question, comment, etc. And I do have our chat open on Zoom as well. So for those of you on Zoom, you can use the chat too. Y para empezar, let's cover what Distill Arts is, DSTL Arts. So to begin, I'd like to actually introduce myself and the rest of the team. Not everyone that you see pictured on this slide is going to be in the class itself, but I am Luis Antonio Pichardo, para los que no me conozcan, and I am the founder and executive director of DSTL Arts. Distill Arts, as I call it, is a nonprofit arts mentorship organization that inspires, teaches, and hires emerging artists from underserved communities. And we'll talk a little bit more about the history of Distill Arts in a moment. But I just want to, again, introduce myself, let you know that I am myself a practicing poet and artist. I do also practice graphic design and photography. And if you have any questions at any time, you can always reach out directly to me at luis@dstlarts.org. You'll notice as far as our emails go, most of our email addresses will be our first name at dstlarts.org. And distillarts.org is obviously the website where you can find out all the different information that you need to know about our programs, our calls for submission, and our podcast. We also have Angelica Silvia Castañeda, Angie for short. Angie is our program coordinator. She is also one of the mentors in our Poet Artist Development Program. And fun fact, she was once a mentee in the Poet Artist Development Program and also an LA County Poetry Ambassador. So she's pretty badass. We really appreciate her support in all the programs. And again, you can always reach out to her if you have any questions about our programs and other initiatives that she helps us coordinate. And I'd like to pass it on to Abraham, who is our master teaching artist. He is going to be co-teaching this particular series with me. He's got a lot of good jokes there, so I'll let him kind of fire it away.
Wah, wah. I, Most of you know me. For those who don't know me, I'm one of the teachers here, multitasker, and definitely preparing cool classes. I might not sleep tonight, so I have some of that ready for next week. We'll be working on a cool class, and my emails on the chat for anyone who wants to email me or Luis, you can send us an email. Again, might take some time to respond, but I usually try to check at least twice a week my emails. Um, and again, we'll have fun. Call any people that you might know, like that they like art or poetry. We'll be working on cool stuff, and we'll be, meeting new people, and perhaps maybe do a reading here and there. Bye.
Yes, yes. And again, Abraham will be co-teaching, so you'll see him a lot in this class. We also want to give a shout out to Naomi Valdivia, who is our managing editor for Artistic Zine. Artistic Zine is one of our annual publications, one of a few that we have. Naomi is also a practicing visual artist and graphic designer who manages our Artistic Zine Facebook and Instagram, always promoting the work that is featured there and the artists that submit. And to, I guess, give you a little bit more background, like I said, on the organization, you can find here what DSTL Arts actually stands for. So the name itself stands for Develop Skills and Transcend Limits Through the Arts. Our mission statement, which I did say earlier, is that we are a nonprofit arts mentorship organization that inspires, teaches, and hires emerging artists from underserved communities. Our vision is to serve emerging artists of all ages and abilities from historically underrepresented communities through accessible programs that center their existing skills as assets to be developed and emphasize their unique place in our community as potential change makers. Basically, what that means is that we believe in you. We believe that you already come with talent. There's only a few things that we can really provide you that really boil down to giving you space and opportunity to express yourself. We are here to support you in as many ways as we can as a nonprofit organization. And this particular time around with Conchas y Café, we are really trying to give people an opportunity to express themselves, heal, use this as an opportunity to build or rebuild whatever they may be working on, given the, you know, historically damaging disaster that did just occur here in LA County between the multiple fires and also, other things that are happening politically. We want to give people a chance to really feel like they're in a safe space where they feel supported and their stories are being shared. I see a hand from Elena. How you doing, Elena?
Yeah.
Good timing.
The way, my question is, I forgot to submit my work, so I did it, last week over the weekend, during the winter break. So,
Yeah, I
can
did
you check
receive.
if I submitted?
I did receive your work, and you do have work that will be featured in the in the newest issue of Conchas y Café zine, the one that is being worked on right now. So, thank you for doing all that work, Elena.
How many weeks did I miss?
Well, we were on vacation on winter break, so you didn't miss anything.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for joining us. For anybody that is interested in connecting with us online, you can always follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X using at DSTL Arts. And then, of course, Artistic Zine, which I did mention earlier on Facebook and Instagram using at Artistic Zine. YouTube is also a big resource for you if in case you are interested in watching the recordings of all of our lessons, past and present. They will be uploaded and shared widely on YouTube. And then, yeah, we're still on X, Abraham, for what it's, for what it's worth. And then for those of you in this class in particular, you will probably want to bookmark the classroom.google.com website so you have easy access to the Google class dedicated to this particular series. And then, of course, you have there the website, distilarts.org. Aquí tienen toda la información en español por si les gusta leerlo después. We will continue on though, just to be sure that we have enough time. So I started Distill Arts in 2012, at the end of 2012, mostly because me as a person of color, as specifically a Mexican American who is writing in both English and Spanish, I found it very, very difficult to get my work published. And I also found it really hard to find resources that taught me how to turn this into a career. So using my background in the nonprofit world, having already done a lot of work in workforce development and teaching youth and adults how to get jobs, I really did all of the work of researching how do you start a career in the arts. And lo and behold, it's not that easy. Of course, most people already understand that, but if you understand the basics of entrepreneurship, that's something that will help you immensely as you start a career as an artist, if that is what you choose. The most important thing is, we as an organization and me specifically as an individual really want to make sure that people understand that being a working artist is a real thing. People really do make a career out of this, and they can earn enough of a living where they can support themselves. This isn't necessarily a game of like becoming rich and famous, but it is a game of, individual success and what you define success and your happiness. And in that spirit, that's why we really felt like it was important that us, especially people of color, people from historically marginalized communities, are given the tools they need to become working artists. And the statistics that you see here are pretty new. These are still fairly current. This is maybe only a few months old. But so that you are all aware, specifically those of you watching either on YouTube later or Instagram Live now, only, a small fraction of us actually get to make it into what we call the creative economy. Over 30% of all California jobs related to the creative economy are here in LA County specifically. And in LA County, 1 in 5 jobs are part of the local creative economy. So 20%, approximately 20% of all the jobs in LA County create art or work within the arts. And it's a huge, huge uh, economic force, right? It generates approximately $28 billion a year in our local economy. And only 59%, I say only, but 59% of our creative workforce identify as white, whereas less than 9% identify as either Latinx or Black. And that's a combined number. 9%, less than 9% identify as either Latino or Black. That's a very few people that look like us working in this sector. And just so that people know, in the most recent census, LA County's population was 48% Latino and is overall 68% Black, Indigenous, or people of color, whereas only 26% of the population in LA County identify as white. So we make up a pretty large portion of what LA County is, but we make up, again, only less than 9% combined of the people who work in the creative industries of LA. So for perspective, that's why Distill Arts exists. It's because of those numbers, because we want people to be able to partake in that economic force, right? We believe that all of us can get a job as a career artist if that is our choice. We focus our workshops specifically on developing these 4 things: the idea of story, metaphor, design, and intent. So for those of you joining our Conchas y Café classes for the first time, we'll probably be talking about these things, especially when we workshop your work. Y para que sepan un poquito sobre nuestro método, we do have, in addition to that particular slide, our different programs that you can learn about on our website. And each one of these, again, will look at all those four elements or those four pillars of our curricular foundation in a lot of different ways, right? Welcome, River. It's good to see you. And so para que sepan aquí, como digo, our general goals and structure, we're going to talk specifically about Conchas y Café and the workshop series that you are participating in. Specifically with Conchas y Café, we will be conducting two 15-week-long bilingual creative writing workshops. And we already did one for the fall semester. That one is currently in the production phase for Conchas y Café zine, but our goal every year is to publish two new issues of Conchas y Café zine. This year specifically will mark 10 years, 10 complete years of us offering this unique workshop series to our community. At the end of every series, we also like to celebrate the release of each issue of Conchas y Café zine with some form of a public reading or performance. Being that this program is virtual, we do now primarily focus on offering a virtual version of a reading or a performance that people can watch at their own leisure. It's also our commitment to you to provide constructive criticism on any work that you create during this class. You are welcome to bring in work that you've created outside of the class, but mostly we are going to focus on the prompts that we give you at the end of each workshop lesson. We call it homework. It's technically not homework, or it's not being graded, but it is work that you get to do outside of the class. And that is the work that we commit to giving you constructive criticism on. For participants, our expectations are a little bit different from the last few semesters of this particular class. This particular semester, we're trying something new, but the general expectations are that you actively participate in creating, editing, and submitting original work, new original work, for the ultimate publication of a new issue of Conchas y Café zine. Now, that does also include things related to visual art. So you could, if you wanted to, submit either photography or illustrations or even comics that are related to the themes that we're exploring. It's not exclusively poetry or short stories or other forms of creative writing. You do have that flexibility, but really, we just want you to be creating. As much as possible, it's also important that you attend all the lessons and all the workshop sessions in a timely manner. We recognize that there are moments where you might be a little late, and that's okay. We do live stream the lessons, and we also record them so that you can watch them later. So if you do miss a class, we ask that you commit to watching the lessons of the recordings, the recordings of the lessons, so that you can stay caught up with what we have been talking about. Also, workshopping is very important and a key part to our program. So we ask that you provide genuine constructive criticism on the work that is submitted and shared during the workshopping sessions. Again, we're trying something new this particular semester, so we'll explain a little bit more how that's going to work in a moment. But generally speaking, be present. If you are going to attend the workshop sessions, we want you to really be, paying attention, be actively participating in giving people feedback. It's also really important that you encourage and promote a safe learning environment free of judgment, bias, and prejudice. This is very, very important to everyone in Distill Arts and especially in our workshops. Creative writing, poetry, photography, all of that. The act of creating art is a very personal thing. And we really don't expect people to come with perfect pieces of art every single time. But it's also really important that you recognize your own place in the workshop, your own biases and that you work to, not approach people's work with those innate biases. As appropriate, dedicate the time and effort that you need to create while, not only in the class, but outside of the class. That's just kind of a general expectation, I think, of the majority of schools. So we will follow that kind of model. And it's also really, really useful for us to have you actively and openly communicate if you need our support, whether that be with deadline extensions or maybe clarification on any of the lessons themselves. We really want you to feel like you can reach out to us and let us know if there's ways in which we can better support you in the pursuit of your creative goals. It's also really important if you see other people in the workshop, maybe not on their best behavior. We will talk about a code of conduct in a moment. But if you see that, please let us know. That's very important to all of us. Y aquí tienen las expectativas en español. Y aquí estamos en los componentes. So, again, this program will be conducted primarily virtually. This will be done through Zoom and a combination of Zoom and Google Classroom. On the weeks, as you see here below, these are the dates. On these weeks, there will be a creative writing lesson. So either myself or Abraham will be teaching a lesson in a tool or technique that we like to see people practice during the workshops, during, their own individual journeys in creative writing. Of course, like I said, these things are really there to help you kind of polish your skills and really shine in the way that you best can. So there's no, again, expectation that you follow every single one of the rules that we set in terms of the classes or the lessons, because this is art and art is subjective. But again, we will be having lessons where we cover something historically relevant to the theme that we're talking about and some sort of tool or technique that you can practice for the long term. The link for Zoom will be shared on Google Classroom between the first few hours of the day of that particular lesson up until like about maybe an hour or two before. And that will usually also include the handout. So you can download the handout in advance and come prepared to follow along if you choose to download the handout and take notes. All the lessons will be recorded and posted to YouTube, probably within the first 24 hours, up to the first 36 hours after the lesson is recorded. So, we really do try to upload everything onto Google Classroom with the handouts and the recordings and YouTube as fast as we can. Of course, we are running other programs and have other things going on, so occasionally we might be a little late with uploading them, but that is, of course, our priorities, to get it up as soon as possible within hopefully the 24 hours after the lesson is delivered. This time around, like I said, we will be having workshop sessions that are going to be structured differently. We're not going to be using cohorts this time. Instead, we're giving you all the opportunity to workshop on the same day. That way, everyone in the group can have an opportunity to share with everyone else in the group if you choose. That is, of course, optional. But the more people who are able to share their work with the larger group, I think the better, because you have more voices who are, giving you input and giving you ideas about how your writing could be polished to be at its best. So, generally speaking, for example, the first session, the first lesson will be next week, the 4th of February. And we will ask you to email both me and Abraham your work by Friday, the 7th of February. So we'll give you a few days to, finish out writing whatever you do in the class. And then whatever you have, again, it does not have to be complete. It does not have to be perfect. We just ask that you send it to us to give us enough time to be able to read it and comment on it on Google Docs. We will be using Google Docs as our main way of sharing work and providing feedback. Then on the following two Tuesdays, that would be November 11th, I'm sorry, February 11th and February 18th. Those 2 weeks, we will give everyone an opportunity to, again, do some, workshopping of their writing, sharing with the larger group. If for some reason your work is not covered the first day, we will go over it on the next day, on the next session. So that's going to be our schedule for this particular series. Again, those of you that have been joining us for the last couple of years now, virtually, we're no longer going to be doing the cohorts for this particular semester. We're experimenting to see if this is going to make it that much easier for everyone to stay caught up and to do their writing as part of the semester's sessions. And again, you'll see there's a total of 5 lessons that we will be covering. The very last workshopping session will be on the 6th of May. That's, of course, only one session after the last lesson, but by this point, we will more than likely be giving everybody the feedback that they need, and your final writing will be due on the 13th of May. So that last Tuesday, the last week of this particular series, we will be still offering a session where you can get help uploading your work to Submittable. But this is the day where our submission portal will close for submissions for the next issue of Conchas y Café zine. And I do see we have a chat question here in the chat. Does that mean that participants see other participants' work the day of the workshop, or will we still get to see people's work ahead of time? This time around, in order to ensure that people are given an opportunity to have their work read by everyone, we, rather than making everybody email each other their work, we're going to do it on the day of the workshop session. So you won't be sending your work to everyone in advance. Instead, you will be sending it to both me and Abraham. We will give you those notes directly on Google Docs, and everyone else will be giving you notes live on the workshopping session days. That's why, in particular, we're really trying to give ourselves 2 weeks of workshopping after every lesson in order to give people a chance to either, revisit work if time permits, or present their work if they didn't have the opportunity to present it the first week of the workshopping. Does that answer your question, River? Great. All right. So are there any questions so far? I know I've kind of covered a lot already, but I'd like to give you all a chance to ask anything that I might have skipped.
So, Luis, how long would I receive my book?
For the last issue of Conchas y Cafezine, it's still being designed. So in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be sending it to print, and then hopefully soon after that, maybe in about a month, you'll receive your issue, your copy of the Conchas y Cafezine in the mail.
So, what number is it? Number 10 out of 2?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. We'll go ahead and continue on. Aquí, como digo, tienen la información en español. Esto se va a subir a Google Classroom por si les interesa inscribirse por completo usando el enlace que se subió en las redes sociales. So everyone who is here, is there anyone that would like to go over more in depth how to use Google Classroom or any of the other Google Workspace apps? Is everyone more or less familiar? I know we have a few people who are familiar with it here. Basically, with Google Classroom in particular, it's kind of like what it sounds like. It's a virtual class where you can really kind of sort of use it as like a chat forum, right? That is one of the benefits of us using Google Classroom. If you haven't used it before, let me go ahead and share my screen for how you do so. Give me a second here. Oops. Would probably help if I typed it in correctly. So I hope everyone can see this. Give me a thumbs up if you are able to see the screen here. To share. Give me a second here, everyone. All right. So this is the teacher side of Google Classroom. So your version might look a little bit different. However, if you successfully used Google Classroom to register for the class, it will look similar to this, very similar. You will probably see this Conchas y Café. You'll see volume 10, issue 2. And when you click on that little icon or that little, ¿cómo se llama? Tile, you'll be able to find on the very top here either the stream, the classwork tab, and you will probably see the tab that also says people. On that one, you can see who all is the teachers, and you can get in touch with us using that method. But here specifically, the Google Classroom stream is where you will find, again, all of the announcements that get posted. You'll find the handouts that are shared during the not only the class, but also in advance of the class, and then you'll get the Zoom link. Y como ven, todo se sube en inglés y en español. Los anuncios aquí se presentan en ambas idiomas. If you go to the tab that says classwork, here right now, because I am the teacher, you will see here that I already have these pre-populated. But as the assignments are, uh, as the lessons are delivered and everything is recorded, it will get uploaded to the tab that says classwork. When you click on the classwork link, you will again get a list of all the things that have been updated. And then you can click on any one of the titles where you will then be able to view the video on either YouTube or out of Google Classroom there directly. And you can download the handout from there as well. And as far as using all the other apps like Google Docs or Google Spreadsheets, all of those things, you can access them here when you hover your mouse on the little top corner right next to your little logo that says that you're logged on. Here, click on that, and you have access to everything that you see here. Your browser might look different, but generally speaking, you will have this pop up here with things like Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, and I believe even Google Forms, YouTube, all of these other things that are free if you have a Google account. It's also very important to know that you do not need to have a Gmail account. You can use any email address you want to create a Google account, and it will always give you access to these core Google Workspace apps. If you go to Google Docs in particular, this is where you can create a document that will be your document that you share with either Abraham or me, preferably both of us. And here is where you will be able to see them saved. So as you see here, I have a few pieces already shared with me, but generally speaking, your work will show up right here, and you can very easily use this particular app to create your, poetry, short stories, etc. If you click on blank document here, you can also experiment a little bit with how you create your work. If you're familiar with Microsoft Office or Apple Pages, this is very, very similar. You have up here, the way to change your fonts. You have this so you can change your font size and all of the formatting tools up here. If you're using Google Docs or Google Classroom on either a tablet or on a smartphone, a lot of these functions you can just simply tap on the screen and they'll pop up as you're writing, for example, or if you are on Google Classroom, you can find some of these things just kind of by using the navigation menu there. You can also create a Google Doc from within Google Classroom if you want to start it there, and then you can share it to myself and Abraham that way as well. But let's say I am writing a poem. So I can do all of the fancy formatting things that any other app will allow you to do. You can do spaces, you can do indents, you can change your margins here, as you can see. All of the things that are familiar in Microsoft Office or Apple Pages, again, you can do most of them here. Once you're ready to share it with me and Abraham, on the Friday after a lesson, you can go up here to where the button reads share. Click on that, and then you can name your document. If you haven't named it yet, we'll just say this is a test is the title of my document. Click on save, and then here you can type in the name of the person or the email address of who you want to share this with. So let's say I want to share this with Abraham. I just start typing in Abraham's name, and he pops up here since he is already in my contacts. If you do not have the person in your contacts, you start typing in their full email address. And once you do it the first time, after that, every single time that you start to type in their email address, it will get auto-populated. It's always good to leave this little palomita checked so that the person receiving the document is notified. And you can add a message here. This is a test share. And you can also change whether or not the person can be either an editor or a viewer only or a commenter only. And you can also add an expiration date. So they can only read it up until a certain amount of time that you designate. In this case, I'm going to leave it as editor because I'd like to give Abraham the opportunity to edit it if he chooses. And once I click on send, again, Abraham will receive an email that says that he received a document from me. And you can see here, access updated. If you get that little notification, it doesn't matter which app you're using, either on the web, on a smartphone, or on a tablet, that will pop up. And then up here, to confirm it, you just click on the button that says share. And here you can see all the people that have access. You can also remove access if you want to, so that way the person doesn't have access to it anymore. For now, I'll leave it as it is. I'll just click on done, and that's it. Presto, changeable. Are there any questions about using Google Docs, Google Classroom, or any of the other apps? No. We're being very efficient today. All right, so let's go back to the slide deck. We will be done soon. Now, como digo, aquí tienen toda la información en español. And here is, of course, our code of conduct. Now, like I mentioned, art is subjective, right? And when we're critiquing people's artwork, it's really important that we understand that they have their own lived experiences that they will sometimes bring into the artwork that they create. If it's necessary to add a trigger warning, that's kind of up to you as the artist. We won't be streaming the workshopping sessions. So your artwork, your Your writing in its raw form won't be presented to the general public, but in the class, you are amongst, a group of people that you may or may not know very well. We hope that you do continue to join us and get to know us. I think we're pretty cool people. I know Abraham's a cool person. And the others who have returned on multiple occasions for many years, I know for a fact are also very good people to work with. But in general, it's good to just be clear about our expectations of people's conduct. So we just ask, follow the golden rule, right? Treat others as you want to be treated. And it is, again, important to be aware of your implicit biases and your positions of privilege. Regardless of who we are, we all have some form of privilege. And to kind of go with that too, it's really important to recognize that everybody has a story to tell, and their ability to tell their story is not determined by a formal education. You do not have to have gone to college. You do not have to have had a master's in the fine arts in creative writing like I do to be in this class. That's not a barrier for entry. We actually have none. The only thing that we ask is that you really, come with an open mind and an open heart and value everyone's lived experience. There are a lot of lessons that we all learn through the course of our lives, and those things we can learn from one another. There's a lot of value in that and being able to share openly our experiences. So, you know, it's very valuable to the overall community that we respect and honor that. And to that same point, we also don't believe in censorship here. However, it's very important that it is understood by everyone that we do not accept, publish, or condone any form of hate speech, whether it's overt or implied, especially if it espouses intolerance, violence, or discrimination against any person or group of people based on their race, ethnicity, cultural or religious background, socioeconomic class, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, immigration status, or political beliefs. We get enough of that out in the real world. We don't need to bring that here into our class. And as with any other workplace, all forms of harassment will not be tolerated, including threats of violence, unsolicited sexual advances or lewd acts, forms of quid pro quo, or abuses of people's trust and privacy. It's part of the reason why we, give you that warning at the beginning. If you don't want to appear in the recording, you are, not required to. You can turn off your mics, you can turn off your cameras. It's all good. And we don't ask that you um, you know, like do anything in exchange for any other favors or things like that. That goes against our belief in creating a safe space, a safe environment for everyone. And if you are participating in our programs, it is important to remember that you're representing our organization and our values to the community. We don't take it lightly that we are, in our own way, leaders in the community, and you are as well. As a voice of the community, as a participant here, you are here representing yourself and others in any form that you participate. So, take that to mind, keep that in your mind, keep that kind of tucked away and know that there is a certain level of responsibility that we all share while being a part of the Distill Arts programs. If any accusation of a person or group of people violating this code of conduct does come up, we will thoroughly investigate it, myself, Abraham, Angie, and if necessary, a third-party investigator will also be involved. During the investigations, we ask that all parties involved be respectful of our process and allow us to do the work of being as thorough as possible and to follow the instructions that we might provide at that time. Anyone who is found violating our code of conduct will be removed from our programs and will be barred from participating in future Distill Arts programs or events. If you do need to, notify someone, you obviously are welcome to notify myself and Abraham. And we ask that you also notify our board of directors using the email address board@distillarts.org. That way we can begin the process of investigating any kind of allegations that might come up. Does anyone have any questions about our code of conduct? No. All right. We also have an attendance policy. Again, this time around, we don't have our cohorts, but we do still expect people to be here, to be present for the workshops themselves. It's very important that, everyone participate to the highest capacity that they can. Generally speaking, we anticipate that, the class itself, it's an hour and a half every Tuesday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And then beyond that, you may spend about another hour or so working on your writing, editing, polishing your work as you need. So that's kind of a rough estimate. In total, it's probably going to be close to like about 2 hours, 2.5 hours a week of time that you are dedicating to your writing by being in this particular workshop series. Um, and, again, being present for the workshop sessions themselves is very valuable to everyone, not just you, but to others as well. So for that reason, we do ask that let us know if you're going to be absent. Let us know at least 24 hours in advance if you know for sure you're going to be absent. If it's excessive, if it becomes obvious that you're not going to be able to be a part of the workshop series in a significant way, we may drop you from the current session. If you have any kind of absences that are unexpected, just let us know as soon as you can. We don't expect you to, in an emergency, stop everything and let us know. Obviously, handle the emergency and then let us know after the fact, once you are able to, that you were unable to attend the class. If there are 3 consecutive unexcused absences, though, meaning that just decide not to show up, and it's excessive, it's 3 or more, then obviously we'll just consider you dropped from the program, and we won't expect to have you joining in the workshop sessions. And then we also have here some tips for giving and receiving constructive criticism. Ultimately, it comes down to, don't just keep it simple with the "I like it" comment. Of course, you're gonna like people's work. Everybody is actually great. Everyone who has participated in our workshops, we've never had anyone come in and be like, "Oh wow, we really need to work with you a lot." Um, that's never been the case. Everyone who comes in is already very well versed in telling their story, and that's really all that matters. But as you read people's work, really push yourself to go beyond just "I like it." Give them details as to why, right? The why you like it is way more important to a person who is trying to make their writing a lot better, than just simply saying, "Yes, I like your work." It's really important to also remember that we do not critique the content, the subject matter of a work of art. That's a subjective thing. What a person chooses to call art comes from them. It comes from inside them. So we're not going to critique that per se. What we're going to really look at is, you know, what was their idea behind it? What was the intention? And are they able to communicate their intentions through their artwork, through their writing, photography, etc.? We want to look at the intention and really make sure that we're giving people the benefit of our understanding of their artwork. And that way we are critiquing the form. If you see themes or phrases or moments that are working for the piece of writing or the artwork, let them know. Tell them, hey, this is really working for me. And if it's central to the piece of work, then really celebrate that. It's also really valuable to recognize if something is maybe not working or if the intention is just not coming through. And so, feel free, feel open to discussing those things. And if all else fails, you can always give at least 2 examples of moments or phrases that you really think are working well for the piece, and give at least 1 example of something that could be maybe polished, something that was unclear, something that raised the question for you. At least one time, one thing that comes up will give a person enough work or enough of an idea of places where they can work on and improve upon their writing. And then when it comes to receiving the constructive criticism on your artwork, it's very important to be attentive and engaged. Proactively listen. That's why being here in attendance is very important, because it's the only way you'll really be able to understand why people are giving you the feedback that they're giving you. To help with that, try to limit the amount that you speak during your round of critique. It's also very good to understand that when a person raises a question about your artwork, there is likely going to be someone else raising the same question or a similar question down the line. Questions are usually a good sign that your work is being engaged with, right? That people are paying attention to it. So uh, if the reviewer can perceive it, that means your audience will perceive it as well in the future. So the more you're aware of these things, the more you can look at your artwork with the same eye for constructive criticism as any other person. It's always good to self-examine in that way. It's also helpful to remember that criticism is not personal. In a lot of ways, it's transactional. It's intended to help you craft work that is elevated to its highest potential. That's our purpose here with the workshop sessions. We really want you to feel like you're supported in exploring the things that you want to explore while reaching the highest potential possible. As I mentioned before, DSTL Arts stands for Develop Skills and Transcend Limits. We really want you to try and transcend your limits as an artist so that you can achieve the highest potential that you can. And we also have here a list of vocabulary words that you might hear on a regular basis from us as we're giving you feedback on your writing. There's really no need to go over every single one. We'll probably talk about them throughout the series as we go along. But if you want to have this as, like, say, a quick reference guide, you're welcome to download the handout. You can print it and have this next to you when you are conducting the workshopping. Igual aquí también tenemos el mismo vocabulario en español para los que quieran tener la información en español. It's a whole 2 pages worth. And then, kind of rounding it out, please contact us in the event of extended absences from the program. If you have any program related questions or concerns, if you need technical assistance, as much as possible, we try to be available for helping people with navigating Google Classroom or Google Workspace or even Zoom. And also contact us if you're, let's say, out talking with friends or with other community members and they have an interest in learning more about the workshops. We have had it happen in the past where someone was invited to talk about distal arts to their congregation as part of their church activities, and they luckily told us in advance, so we were able to give them some flyers. I was able to coach them a little bit on our programs, and they did an excellent job sharing what they do through our programs. So if that does happen, reach out to us first, and we are here to help you with all of that. Ultimately, when in doubt, just ask for clarification. That's really the main thing. Keep communicating with us. We want to be, again, as big of a support as we can be. And that also means offering referrals to other services or things like that come up. It's also important to know that both Abraham and I, again, we are graphic designers and artists. So is Naomi and Angie. And so, as practicing artists ourselves, we do have a practice that exists outside of Distil Arts. We do take on freelance gigs every now and then. So while you're in the program and while you are doing things that are related to the workshops, to the classes, that is all free. But let's say you want to, I don't know, design a zine and have your first book published. We don't take, number one, unsolicited manuscripts. So we don't, publish people just up off the street. They have to go through our program in order to have work published. And if you hire us, like let's say for a photo gig, Abraham or myself, we have our own going rates for our services, and those services would be done again outside of Distill Arts. So it would be subject to whatever our rates are as individual artists. So do keep that in mind. Ultimately, I just don't want my staff taken advantage of. That's where that comes from. And last but not least, we want to say welcome to the Arts Fam. Aquí a veces usamos el hashtag ArtsFam to kind of describe all of you who are participating in our programs. Like I said, we are here as a support for you. We want to be a resource as long as you want us in your life as a resource. We are in your corner. And at any time, if you have questions, whether that be for personal goals, creative goals, or even business goals related to the arts, we are here for that. You can again reach out to us directly by email using the email addresses that are listed on the handout here. You can also reach out to us through the DMs in our social media. And you can also go to our website to just simply learn more about the other programs and services that we provide. We do have a handful of open calls for submission right now that include the zines that I mentioned earlier, Conchas y Café zine, obviously this one, plus Art Block zine and Artistic zine. So right now we have 3 different active calls for submission, each one of them with a different theme and each one of them with a different set of guidelines. So we definitely recommend that you go to the website to really learn more about each individual one. So we're giving everyone multiple opportunities to have their work published. And with that, for those of you who are attending tonight's orientation session, we do have a final page here, just confirming that you attended. So take a moment to read that over. It has a small media release here related to being in our programs and our use of the recordings for things like promoting the classes. And also it has a little clause here that you acknowledge that you understand our code of conduct and our attendance policy as it was outlined in this presentation. If you are going to be joining us for the remaining 15 weeks, we're very happy to have you here. Of course, like I said, we are a resource for you as much as you want us to be. So the more you communicate, the more you ask, the more we're able to provide. And in the end, we just really want to see some really cool writing and art, across our desks. Whether you decide to publish it in the pages of one of our many zines, that's kind of up to you. It's not an obligation. It's not a specific like requirement to be involved. But we are obviously more than happy to give your work a platform. And yes, the workshopping sessions will still not be recorded. The workshopping is going to be just within the crew here. Those who attend the workshopping sessions themselves. The only thing that's going to be recorded is the lessons, and those will be chopped up sometimes into little snippets that will be shared on social media just to get people excited about being in our workshops. And in the end, when we do the culminating reading / virtual release, we also, invite you to perform your work and have that featured on our social media pages. Sometimes there are special effects involved, as Abraham says in the chat, but that's again optional. Does anyone have?
Luis.
Yes, Elena?
Why is there why is there a wildfire? Why some people don't do their homework?
Well, the reason why there was a wildfire is because nature sometimes needs to use fire to scare us and to also help us clear out, some dry brush.
Did the
Luckily,
suspect burn the fire? The suspect?
I think they found a couple of people who may be involved in starting fires, yes. And I'm
Like
very
how
glad that
many?
I don't know that answer, but I'm glad that you're safe and that you're doing well, Elena. I know that
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you.
I'm really happy to know that you were safe. A lot of us were impacted by the fires, including Distal Arts. So, that's part of the reason why the zine, the last issue of the zine, wasn't completed on time.
Yeah.
It has been delayed, but because, we are now back and everyone is mostly safe, we are looking forward to, again, building and rebuilding as necessary, which is the theme for this semester's Conchas y Café zine. The theme
Yeah.
again
Thank
is
you.
rebuild. Yeah, thank you, Elena. So, do we have any final questions? We have about 20 minutes left. If anyone wants to share anything or have a question. Abraham, anything you want to share?
Everything's so quiet. I can hear crickets.
I know.
Oh,
I like your
um,
haircut, Abraham.
thank you. I did it
When did you
myself. No,
get
just
it
kidding.
cut?
No, I cut it 3 weeks ago, I think. Something like that.
Wow, that's nice.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. And for news, I guess I was just watching yesterday a movie. Oh my God. So it starts with this couple and they're basically have like a weird relationship. And I think at the beginning we're like, oh, what's going on here? And then it turns out they're robots. They have this conversation in the movie of like, how is gonna people going to adjust with like being in relationships with robots
Mhm.
and also humanizing robots in a way, right? Like basically they use these robots for whatever purposes they want. And the funny thing is they also trying to get them to have feelings and to have memories. And of course, at a certain point, the robots are like, I have memories and I have feelings, and it opens that conversation of like, how are we gonna deal with that technology and how human are we? In this point, it was more like the robots were more human than the humans themselves. Like, oof, good
Mm,
movie.
nice. Sounds good. That reminds me of a movie that came out, I think, last year. What was it called? The Creator or something like that. Um, yeah, it's about androids and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, as far as the workshops go themselves, you'll see that we will sometimes bring in, elements of either books, movies, TV shows, music that inspire us. So you're welcome to also bring in those things to share with the group, because you never know where you're going to find inspiration. And I also want to say thank you, Lanisha, for letting me know that you found out about Distal Arts through the Rankin Foundation. That's pretty cool to hear. Um, we do obviously apply to various grants and things like that. So that is primarily how our programs run. They are funded in part by different foundations and other, grant giving organizations, which again we're very grateful for. So, and yeah, does anyone have any final questions or comments? All right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and close it out a little bit early. Again, next week we will get started with the very first lesson. Um, the the Wayne Foundation. Yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, we'll get started with our very first lesson, which will be led by our master teaching artist Abraham, and then we will have 2 weeks of workshopping to follow, and then the second lesson will be led by me. But again, this is only the beginning, the orientation day. For anyone that missed today's particular session and is watching this recording after the fact, there is still time to join us. You can join in really within the next month, and you won't have missed too much. So we do hope to see more people joining in through the Zoom sessions themselves, which again you can have access to by going to our website, distilarts.org/Conchas y Café zine all together. There you can click on the enrollment code that is under the listing of the workshop dates. And I think with that, yeah, again, go ahead and close it out. Say good night. I look forward to seeing those of you who joined in tonight again next week, 6:30 p.m., same bat channel, same bat time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.